The Youth at Risk project we started in 2008. It came really out of the need of having a project in Arusha so that we could support the youth there. Being a city, in a very large city in Tanzania, lots of youths come to the city looking for work. They end up doing employment that isn't necessarily legal. They get involved with the sex industry, they get involved with drugs, and so the youth centre was about giving an opportunity to these youth so they had somewhere to go. It's surprisingly quite small considering how many youth they have come in there. This year they're hoping to have about 600 youths come through the door over 1 year. It's literally 2 very small buildings. There's not very much in there at all. In one building there's some desks in there. There's a blackboard in there, but there's desks and chairs, and it's quite run down in there. It's very basic. The second building, which is next door, has a very tiny IT suite which has maybe 5 or 6 computers. They have a sort of general room that they can use for some of their other lessons, which is quite small, and they 2 years ago developed their own music studio with funding from African initiatives. And they've got a sort of small outside area, and when they do their sports activities they tend to use a local college who provides them with sports grounds to go and do things like their football and their netball. They have quite a mixture of ages, I'd say from sort of 14, 15 upwards, but they have youth that are sort of in their mid-20s, and it's fairly evenly split between boys and girls. They run lots of different courses at the youth centre, so what you have is educational courses, so they can go and study their equivalent to their O-levels and retake exams. You have vocational courses where they can do travel and tourism courses, language courses, drama. I think that despite the small amount of funding they've got, they've achieved quite a lot. 2 years ago they probably only had 150 registrations in a year, whereas this year what they're hoping to have is nearly 600. What they've also introduced this year is what they call a community outreach programme, so to try and reach those students that can't come into the centre, that live perhaps in the very poor areas of the city, in the ghettos. They are now taking the programme out to those areas in the evenings, and they're concentrating on perhaps 2 or 3 different areas. And in the evenings they're running sort of sports sessions, they're running some of the life skill education sessions about HIV and AIDS, about drugs misuse, about alcohol and the dangers of it, and I think that that's a real credit to them that they've actually got the strength now to take this programme out and reach so many more youths. And they were very, very welcoming when I was there, and I went there and sort of learnt from the youth about the different work that they do. I spent some time with the volunteers. I mean, the youth centre is very much run with the support of 6 full-time volunteers, and they put a lot of hard work and effort into it. I mean, CASEC staff support them as well, but these volunteers run the lessons, they run the sports sessions, so it was good to meet them and to meet the youth. And they talk about the fact that before the youth centre was there, they didn't have much to do in their life. They didn't feel that they were as worthy, and suddenly now they have something that fills their lives, and they feel that their talents, whether it's a musical talent or whether it's a football or whether it's drama, they're kind of fulfilling their dreams, and they feel that they now have aspirations for their lives. And lots of students there have missed out on secondary education because you can't, it's not paid for by the government, so if their parents can't afford it, they're given an opportunity to get some of that education at the centre, and then they can actually take the exams and then see if they can go back into education. And it's just very positive. They were very positive youth. They don't dwell on the fact that they've missed out, and they don't dwell on the fact that they have less than others around them. They're just very positive. And they also talk about the sort of the life skills training they have, and the HIV and AIDS education, and the fact that they're learning many things that they weren't aware of before, and again wouldn't have the opportunity to learn. I think that the youth centre itself wants to do so much more, but they're limited within the buildings that they're in at the moment, and the fact that actually they have an IT suite, but it's very limited in what they can offer students and what they can teach them. I think the other issue is that because they're not registered technically as a school, lots of the courses that they do offer, so they offer a tourism course, they offer an IT course, aren't necessarily recognised nationally. So the students, although get up to a certain stage when they're proficient, they then have to go somewhere else to take another exam in order for it to be recognised. But in order to get that status where they could be perhaps providing exams that would enable students to get that recognition nationally, they'd obviously need more money to invest into change the status of the centre to maybe a training facility or an educational facility. It's a really positive project. I was very endeared to the youth when I was there. They were, I turned up and they spontaneously did music recitals, they did drama, and they're just very enthusiastic and just incredibly grateful to be given that opportunity. And I think it's a really positive thing to be part of that.